right, guys, hello. We are going to work on adding and subtracting fractions today. So let's see if I can throw this in slideshow mode. There we go. All right, so we're going to do a quick review of adding fractions. As long as our fractions have the same denominator, like here our denominator is 8, we get to add these fractions straight across the top. So 1 plus 4 is 5, our denominator stays the same. Yay! We now are going to ask ourselves, is 4/8 in simplest form? If it's not, we have to simplify it. So we can divide both the top and the bottom by 4, and we're going to get a simpler fraction of 1/2. Okay? If we were working this out, we would say, okay, 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. That's how we get 1/2, if you're wondering. Okay, now here's what we're going to do if our denominators do not match. So we're looking at adding fractions, and we're going to have to add a step in here where we create an equivalent fraction with a common denominator. So if we look at adding 1/3 and 1/4, we notice they do not have the same denominators. So we're going to count up by multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. Cool. 3 times 4 gives us 12. And that's going to be our least common denominator for this pair. So watch what the math looks like. Here's what I want you to notice. We start with 1/3. If we look at our neighboring denominator, it's 4. So if we multiply by 4 over 4, we end up with an equivalent fraction that has the denominator we really wanted. So it has 12 as its denominator. So, and over on the right side, we're going to look at our neighboring denominator, which is 3. And if we multiply by 3 on the top and multiply by 3 on the bottom, we get an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 12. So we've changed our original fractions into 4/12 and 3/12. Now we can add those up. So we add straight across the top and get 7, and straight across the bottom, it stays the same, right? Because 12 pieces still makes a whole. So now let's level it up to 7th grade, and we're going to throw some negatives in there. First thing I want you to notice is that we don't have common denominators. So our least common denominator here is going to be 20. We found that by multiplying 4 times 5. Next up, create equivalent fractions. So we multiply by 5 over 5 here to create an equivalent fraction. So -3 times 5 is -15. 4 times 5 is 20. Those are equivalent, equal, same. You get the same amount, right? Over on the right side, we multiply by 4 on the top and multiply by 4 on the bottom. So now we have 2 equivalent fractions with the common denominator of 20. So we can add those up. Okay, so now we're going to say our denominator stays the same, -15 plus 8. Same team or different teams? Different teams, right? So negatives win by how much? If they are on different teams, we're subtracting, okay? So 15 minus 8 is 7, and we know it's going to be a -7. So -7/20. So now let's do subtraction, okay? If we had... We're going to go to this one. -5/6 minus 1/5. First off, we have to find common denominators. So 30 is going to be our lowest common denominator. We're going to create equivalent fractions. Notice we look next door at that denominator. It's 5, so we multiply by 5 on the top, multiply by 5 on the bottom. There's our equivalent fraction. Over here, we multiply by 6 on top and 6 on the bottom. So we're going to put it back into the original form here, okay? We have our nice common denominators. We have to say, all right, when we subtract fractions, right, we're dealing with integers, it's the same as adding the opposite. So we can go from -25 minus 6 to -25 plus -6. Our brains are going to be able to look at this a little more clearly and see that these are both negatives and they're on the same team, okay? So when we add them up, same team, 25 plus -6 is going to be -21. negative 31. Negative 31 over 30, which would simplify down to negative 1 and 1/30. Okay, so this is your final reminder. If the denominators are the same, you can add or subtract across the top, dealing with just your numerators, but if the denominators are not the same, you have to use equivalent fractions. And as always, use the classroom resources around the classroom so that you remember to ask those questions like same team or different team, which team wins, and you guys will do great with this. So you need to make sure you're trying to finish that Big Ideas Math assignment and submit it today. I will give you about 10 minutes to ask questions at the beginning of class tomorrow as well. All right, take care. Bye, guys.